Hey. All right, welcome everyone to our Seasider series for today. I'll go ahead and share my screen. There we go. And then let's see if I can. There we go. Okay. So, like I said, welcome everyone to our Seasider series today. Today, we are continuing the theme of preparing for school, and we're going to be talking about understanding and maintaining your visa status. So, yeah, it's going to be good. And as always, I am Caden. I'm a student assistant here at ISS, and with me today.
Hi, my name is Vinay Juriel. I work with Caden.
Vinay, our student manager. He knows his stuff. We got the expert for you today.
Thank you.
All right. As always, our intro theme song. Uh-oh. This is yesterday. Well, it was blurry that time, but it's all good. All right. So, like we said, today we're going to be talking about your visa status and just kind of understanding some of the basics of what your visa is and means and what are some of the rules for you to maintain your legal status while you're here in the US. And so we'll be covering all of these things that are on the slide right now.
Thank you.
All right. So first, we'll kind of just give a little overview of the F1 visa. So a lot of this might be a review for you, especially if you've already gotten your visa, but you know, it's always good to cover, and especially if you didn't know any of this stuff. So an F1 student is a non-immigrant student who has come to study in the US. As an F1 student, you'll be enrolled in SEVIS, which is a US government database of all the international students and stuff on visas. F1 students here are self-funding, and as an F1 student, you'll be getting or already have an I-20, and that's the document that you'll be using.
And I want to ask you a question. You know, how many of us in this room has I-20 or F1 visa? Does anybody has I-20? No. all of us are J visas. No visas.
No,
I guess so.
No.
Oh, you didn't, Ryan. What happened? You don't have visa?
Oh, someone else has thumbs up.
So what is thumbs up means? Is it a F1 visa? Oh, he took it out.
Oh, it's all good.
Okay,
well,
yeah.
Either way, we'll be posting this to the recording too, so probably we'll have students with both types of visas.
Right. Yeah, this is very important to understand that the F and J's visas are non-immigrant categories that wherein you have no intent to stay in the United States, but you're willing to go back to your own country and you want to build your own home. So even if it's F or J, they both are non-immigrant visas.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and for both of them, you got to be a full-time student every semester, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. All right, and then like Vinay mentioned, there's also the J1 visas, which are also for a lot of our students who come here. And also, if you're J1, you'll also be enrolled in SEVIS. Instead of an I-20, you'll have a DS 2019. And at our school at BYUH, usually our J1 students are on the iWork program as well. And that has all its own rules and regulations that come from the school. on top of the regular J1 rules. And just like the F1 students, also have to make sure to be a full-time student every semester.
Great. Yes. If you have questions, do ask us, because we're gonna share a few more details if you ask questions. If you don't ask questions, it's gonna be very hard for us to share more details in depth. We can't go in depth if you don't ask questions.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the certificate of eligibility, which is the I-20 or DS 2019. We don't have like a ton of specific stuff to say, but just a little bit more information about it. So like we said, if you're F1, you'll have an I-20. If you're J1, you'll have a DS 2019. And as most of you have probably already gotten these documents, but just in case for anyone who's watching in the future as well, a DS 2019, we can only send those in the mail, whereas I-20s, we can email those.
And also one thing, I don't know if we're going to talk about their validation process in the future. Are we going to talk about validation?
Oh, getting checked in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So once we are on there, I'll share more details on it.
Yeah, but so these documents are used to help you secure your visa, and you need it before you can secure your visa interview. So they're important to have with you for your visa interview, and as well as when you come to the US, you'll need it to show to the customs officer in order for them to let you in. And it's important to pay attention to the program dates on your form, because for one, the start date that's on your form, that's going to be the date that you need to enter the US by. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday too. For most of you, if you're coming in the fall, it probably says August 23rd. It could be different, but for a lot of you, it probably says August 23rd. Whatever date it is, you want to make sure to come either on that date or within 30 days before. Don't come after that date. If you have a flight that's after your start date, we need to give you a new I-20 or DS 2019 with an updated date.
Yeah, and when he said updated, it doesn't mean that we can update all the dates, because there are limited dates that are extendable. But if you're already past that date, then definitely you might have to postpone your semester or defer a semester to next semester, so then you can come legally in the United States. So make sure that you try your best to come to the United States within that date.
Mm-hmm. And then additionally, there's also the end date on there, and you want to pay attention to that too in the future as it's coming close to that date. You don't want to be here after an expired date.
Yeah, that's true. And also another thing, in case if your program extends and you are still in the United States, it's okay to stay without a visa. Your DS 2019 or I-20 should be valid, which is called the CVIS number. If your CVIS number is active, you're okay to stay in the United States. But the moment you want to leave and you don't have a visa, you can go out of United States, but in order to come inside the United States, you would have to have a new visa. So you have to apply for a new student visa. But till the time you're here, I've seen students who came here for 1-year visa, but they stayed here for 4 years for their bachelor's, they did their academic training, they went for master's, they didn't get any visa. So till the time the service is active, that's really important.
Mm-hmm. All right. Another thing to be aware of that's on some students' visas is this 212E requirement, which is also known as the 2-year home country physical presence requirement. And so, like I said, some students have it, some don't. So to see if it applies to you, you have to check your visa, and it'll say on there, it says like the 212E does apply to this student or doesn't. But basically the requirement is that the students must return to their home country for 2 years after they complete their program. So if that requirement does apply to you, then you got to make sure to do that after you complete your schooling here. And yeah, it's monitored by the US government, so it's not something you want to break.
Yeah, and also don't think that, oh, why did I get this requirement? What did I do wrong on my interview? This is nothing to do with your interview. It all depends on the program that you choose. So there are certain programs that are considered that has a legal requirement that you should go back to your home country. Some program doesn't have that requirement, so that's why you see some students would not have that requirement to, or that the statement over there that they are required to go back home for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And man, a lot of you who are iWork, part of that program is also to return to your home country. So it won't change that much for you if you're iWork anyway.
That's true. So iWork is as a scholarship that is provided to go back to your home country and support the church and leadership in your own countries. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then on our website, it says too that marriage to a U.S. citizen or birth of a child in the U.S. does not remove this requirement either. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Anybody has a question? Okay, great.
Not for now.
Okay.
Oh, we got one. If I change my permanent residence to Canada, will I still need to go back to home country?
So when you say change my permanent residency to Canada, which means that you're gonna be like you got a green card or like a what do you call it? Yeah, the permanent residency visa from Canada.
Yes.
Okay, so when did you get it? Did you get it before you apply to come here? Because it changes everything, because when you apply as an iWork students, iWork is only offered to Asia Pacific students. Canada is not considered to be Asia Pacific, and that would allow you to be on a self-sponsored visa, because US and Canada's countries not like they cannot apply for iWork scholarship. They can apply for other scholarships, but they cannot apply for iWork. So if you have a permanent residency from Canada, definitely you need to send that to ISS, and we would have to update your records, and you would have to meet with a counselor. You're not a counselor from academics, but a counselor from International Student Services. Does that answer the question?
Okay, it's for someone else. Okay.
Okay. So again, yes, no matter which country you marry to, Canada and US is part of territory that iWork says that you cannot stay. You have to go back. If he or she plans to go to Australia, New Zealand, not Canada, but another country apart from their own country, apart from these two countries, they can travel to anywhere else. They can still be considered as going home. Is that answers your question? Great.
All right. So then moving on, now we're going to talk about some of the important steps to maintain your status while you're here in school. So it's a very important thing for you to maintain your status, because while you're here at school, you want to make sure that you're here in the US legally, and you don't want to accumulate any unlawful presence, because having that on your record will make it a lot more difficult in the future for you to return to the US to do other things in the US. So yeah, maintaining your status is an important thing, but luckily it's really not that difficult to do if you're aware of the rules and guidelines that you need to keep. Then it's not too hard to maintain your status.
And also it says that checking in with ISS after you arrive on campus. One thing to emphasize here is that you should come within the 30 days when you arrive to campus or United States. It doesn't have to be campus, because some students, when they arrive in United States, for example, they arrive early than 30 days, because we have a requirement of 30 days that you can come in early 30 days. So they come in and they stay around to different locations. Remember that the day you enter the United States, from that day to 30 days, you have to check in with ISS. If you do not check in with us, you might get terminated or your access become invalid, which may cause you to pay another $375 of a fee, which is an extra fee that you might have to pay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Yeah, this is something we talked about yesterday, checking in, something we really want to emphasize this whole week
Yeah,
because we've been having a lot of problems with it lately.
yeah, because of
We're
COVID. Yeah,
realizing students who didn't ever check in.
and also make sure checking in also, meaning that when when you do a leave of absence, when you're dropping a semester, all those things that has to be informed to ISS, because we are the one who gonna maintain and keep you safe in the United States. If you do not let us know what's happening with you, it's gonna be hard. And later on, if you come and say, "Oh, I did not know. I thought registrar would let you know." No, you have to come and let us know that, okay, yes, you're gonna be dropping classes, because the moment you go less than 8 credits during spring and fall and winter is 12 credits. The moment you go less than that, you're becoming not a full-time student. So that actually hampers your status too.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So Vinay's talking about how additionally with checking in, like we talked about before, you have to make sure you're a full-time student every semester, which like I said is 12 credits in fall and winter, at least 8 in spring. You can do more than those, obviously.
Yeah.
And if you're iWork, then I believe iWork, they have to do 14 credits.
So iWork doesn't have to do 14 credits, but iWork also has an obligation like your family contribution, and then you also get some other scholarships. So in order for you to eligible to apply for those scholarship, like your department scholarships, you have to have 14 credits.
Mhm.
If you do not have 14 credits, you're no longer eligible to apply for any scholarships.
Yeah.
When you can still be on iWork, but the other extra scholarships that are available will not be given to you.
Yeah. So if you're on those things or any scholarships, then you should be a full-time student every semester anyway. But if you're not, you still make sure to do at least 12 credits and 8 in the other ones. Is it still 14 credits even on spring? Oh no,
No,
that's
no.
a good point. In spring, it's 9 credits.
Yeah,
We should have put that in the
yeah.
slide.
So
Forgot to.
no worries. Yeah, 9 credits for spring requirement, and yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. Okay.
And then like Vinay mentioned, if you're gonna, you can do less if you get a reduced course load, but it has to get approved by the registrars, and it needs to, our office needs to know about it too and approve it as well. So that's something you have to make sure to put in.
Because remember, we have a system that tracks all your activities. So for example, you might have seen Student Center, wherein you might have gone and check you might have enrolled for your classes and all those things, or it might reflect what classes you're enrolled for right now. That's a system that is interlinked with our system. So the moment you drop classes over there, it's going to drop it in our system. So it will do a red flag for us.
And then another thing to keep in mind too is if you withdraw from a class, if you drop a class after you start taking it, because sometimes people take a class and decide they don't want to do it that semester. If it puts you below the credit requirement, then that'll also put you out of status. So let's say you were taking 13 credits and you dropped a 3 credit class, so you'd only be at 10 credits. You need to make sure to sign up for a class to replace that so that you still have at least 12 credits. So yeah, those are a few of the things to maintain your status. And then some more things to keep in mind as well. One thing is that you got to make sure to pass your classes, because if you get an academic suspension and stuff, then that can put you out of status.
And honor code too. Maintaining the honor code is really important as well, because those two things can also lead to, may result in accessing or losing your status.
So yeah, basically any like suspensions or expulsions, stuff like that, you don't want to do that. Additionally, there's going to be just certain times where you're going to need to submit certain documents or requests to our office, and you want to make sure to do those like in a timely manner. Like, don't just come up to us to do it at the very last second, because a lot of the documents take some time to process, and we have to submit them to the government and approve them.
That's
and stuff
true.
like that.
Also, one thing I want to go back to the check-in thing, because most of the time students come in, they come to our office, but they do not tell us that they want to be validated. We would not know. The advisors, you come to us, and there will be a student worker may go ahead and take these forms from you and get it signed, but they might forget to get you checked in. So remember that that's the first word that you want to say to ISS, I want to check in, you know.
Mhm.
Another thing is that because sometimes you apply for social security card when you're here, the social security almost take around 90 days and you have the time frame that you can still work. But then if you're not validated, your status become inactive, then you want to cancel your social security too, or they will not approve it. So just remember those things in mind.
Mm-hmm. And then we got a question, where can we get a copy of an updated DS 2019?
So what do you mean by updated DS 2019? So could you elaborate on that?
DS 2019 at the moment.
If you have, yeah.
December 2020.
Oh, and are you flying soon?
I think he's already here.
Or you're here.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's fine. So if it says 2020, it's okay. Just make sure that it has your program end date correct. If you use that same document to travel into the United States, it's okay to keep that one. You don't need to keep changing your DS 2019. The only time you would need it if there is any program changes that happens. For example, if you change your program from maybe from hospitality and tourism to maybe communications. It's still available right now. Students are able to change, but I'm not sure how long it's gonna be open. Maybe students may not be able to change on J1 visas, but yeah, you can still keep that one and make sure it's valid.
Mm-hmm. Some other things to keep in mind are that as you're working here on your visa, you're only allowed to work at BYUH or PCC. So if you're breaking those rules and working somewhere off campus, then that can put you out of status as well. And also the rules for the international students and all students working on campus, actually, you can work up to 19 hours a week during the school year and up to 40 hours a week during breaks.
Okay, so I have a question. No, so if you have a US passport, then definitely, yeah, definitely this rule does not apply to you, and you automatically fall under US category that you are a US citizen. You do not. So then the iWork would not be. I'm not sure iWork is there for you, but yeah, definitely this rules doesn't apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, again, working because you're domestic students. Does it apply to you? Can you work off campus?
Yeah, domestic students can work off campus.
So yeah, so with you having a US passport, I think you can work off campus. One thing that I would emphasize is that when you come in, go to HR and talk to them about your work policies, that what and where you are allowed to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so for anyone who didn't know, because the question was a direct message to us. It was if you have a USA and Japanese passport, do the rules apply to you? So, or if you had a USA and any other country passport, it's pretty much the same. The rules will be different because you can, since you have a US passport, it changes a lot.
Yeah, you're not considered as an international student if you have a US passport.
Yeah. Someone else said, just confirming you must travel on the date your form covers or 30 days before the start date. So if it says 23rd of August, you can't arrive after that date.
That's correct.
That is correct, yes.
You got the answer. You had the answer in your question. Yes,
that
you
is
can.
correct. They said, but I want to work at PCC. If you're a domestic student, or if you're like not an international student, you can still work at PCC or on campus. Yeah. I worked at PCC before.
We both worked at PCC, yeah. So
yeah,
you can work on those two locations for sure, but domestic students can work other places as well.
Yeah.
And can you work more than 19 hours?
If you work for the school, you still have to work 19 hours because that's a school policy. But if you work somewhere off campus, then I think you can work more.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah, that's only for domestic students. So for all of you who are international students, it's going to be on campus, 19 hours. Where were we? If you leave, yeah. So another thing to keep in mind is if you leave BYU Hawaii, like if you go on a leave of absence or something, or leave for an extended period of time, you need to inform the registrar's office, inform our office, so we can know where you're going and so they can make sure that your like status is okay and stuff. And then additionally, if you're going to be traveling somewhere, you'll want to make sure to get your I-20 DS 2019 signed by an ISS advisor to get a travel signature, because you'll need that to get back into the country once you come back.
Yeah, and also that is only applicable for traveling outside of United States.
Mhm.
If you're traveling within the country, it's okay. You can travel with that document. You don't need to sign document.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second.
Okay.
For the leave of absence, and we have a question. For the leave of absence, do we need to reapply for a visa again?
No, so if you get a leave of absence, which is an approved leave, that's why it's a leave of absence, they will approve it and you don't need to reapply because you will be working with the registrar directly and then they can get you in enrollment for the next semester. But make sure that is approved. If you just drop yourself and say like, oh, I'm gonna take that as a leave of absence, that's not considered. You must reapply to school.
Yeah, because sometimes we get students who just like stop going to school on their own, and then you would have to reapply and everything because it would count as like you ended your schooling. But if you get an approved leave of absence, like Vinay said, then it's all good.
Yeah, because some students think that okay, after 2 semesters they can drop classes, they can drop, and they can do anything they want to. But no, just make sure that you do all things legally.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then finally, some last few things to keep in mind for maintaining your status while you're here is that when your passport is going to expire, and like any document that's going to expire, it's good to make sure they're up to date, and better to renew them early than to wait until they're expired. And then another important thing is that you want to keep your address up to date, because on your student center, it'll have your address on your record. And this has been another thing that's kind of been a problem for our office because of COVID. Everyone's in different places and some people are not keeping their addresses up to date.
That's true. The one thing to remember that as of right now, all of yours US address would be university address. That's something we keep it as a standard because we put that in. But when you come here, some of you will live in Hollies or some of you will live in TVA. Once you assign a particular location, come to us and let us know that your physical address has been changed, because currently your physical address is university address. But the US government really wants to know where exactly you live. They want to know exactly the location. It's just for the safe reasons, nothing to track down. But yeah, they want to make sure that all students are reported correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then finally, you want to make sure to obey all the U.S. laws and additional university rules. So you don't want to get, like I said before, you don't want to get kicked out of school for anything, because that will definitely result in your status being terminated, because you have to be a student in order to be here. And yeah, obviously don't break laws. That's probably like the #1 way to get your status revoked.
That's true. Great. I think that was the last. This is the last thing. We have travel.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah, Vinay mentioned a little bit before about some of the rules for if you're traveling out of the country or within the US. And so one thing to keep in mind for all the rules that we're going to discuss, if you're on iWork, the iWork program has a bunch of their own rules about travel that are even more strict than these rules. So if you're an iWork student, and you're planning to travel, you'll want to check the rules from iWork about traveling as well. These are just the rules for like all international students. So like Vinay said, if you're going to be traveling within the US, you don't need to get like a travel signature or anything. But when you are traveling, you want to make sure to bring your passport and I-94 DS 2019 just in case, because you never know, they're good to have on you.
Definitely. Another thing that you can also do it is, I would recommend you when you come here, you can always apply for a local state ID or driver license. So that will eliminate you to carry all of these documents, but you can keep it as a safe document in your, in closet, and and you can travel with those IDs, because within the United States, you are able to travel with those state ID and a driver license.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And then, yeah, it's when you're traveling outside the US, that's when there's some more regulations to keep in mind. So like we mentioned before, if you're traveling outside the US, you need to make sure to get a travel signature from an ISS advisor before you travel. You'll need that to get back into the country. And you need to make sure to bring your visa and your passport, I-94, financial documentation, I-20 or DS-2019, all that stuff with you. You'll need those in customs again, just like when you arrive here for the first time. And then if you're going to be outside of the US for more than 5 months, that will cause a break in status. So you'll want to like apply for like a leave of absence before you do that. And otherwise you'll need like a new I-20 or DS-2019 before you re-enter the US. And
with COVID, there are situations where students are able to stay for a longer time. However, once the COVID things settle down, these rules again go back normal. And because you might say, like, oh yeah, my friend stayed 1 year and he didn't have to do anything. You know, that because of the COVID, government is really not so strict right now, because they understand students can come back within 5 months because of this situation. But later on in the future, definitely, they will please stick to these rules.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then if you're traveling with dependents, with your family, they generally have the same rules, like they need to bring their visa, passport, and all that stuff as well. And and then if you're traveling to a different country that's other than your home country, then you want to make sure of the rules that they have about traveling to their country.
Okay, one more thing. Remember, when you're exiting out or you're going out, do talk to Student Medical Benefits Team, which is a health insurance program. Just ask them if you will be covered during this travel, because if you're not covered, you might have to purchase another insurance for your travel. It is important till the time you're a student of Brigham University, Hawaii, you need to maintain yourself and have an active insurance covered.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one as well. And then that is everything that we have prepared. So now we have time for questions. We have the animation. So if you guys have any other questions, then now is the time to ask away. I would be glad to answer them.
And remember that these questions are not yours only, but it could be for future, because these are recorded videos or chats that's going to be posted online. And if you feel like this, your question could help somebody else, definitely ask it.
Let's say we got one question that said, how strict is honor code?
It's really strict.
Well, it depends on like what rules. So like if you're not, I mean, so you should keep all the rules, but like if you're, for example, you're not going to get kicked out of school for breaking the dress code. And you're not going to get kicked out for like staying out past curfew or something. But like if you're like drinking alcohol or like doing like more, what's the word, serious things like that, that's when you could get kicked out for that kind of stuff.
So yeah, thank you. And another question we have is, are Iowa students allowed to go home? Definitely, yes, they are allowed to go home. You come with a multiple entry visa. So whenever you receive a visa, it's a multiple entry visas. I would understand that there could be family issues there back home, or definitely students is willing to go home to meet family. It's 4 years. It's a long time to be away from your family. However, remember that when you travel back to your home country, you talk to iWork, because there are some guidelines that you have to follow so that you can continue to keep your scholarship.
I think there's like a minimum amount of time that the iWork students have to be here.
So they say like, yeah, it's a 1 year per 1 year at least. You should
before you can travel, you have to be here 1 year.
Yeah, and then you can travel for 14 days. That's what the old guideline was, that students are allowed to go home for 14 days. And during that time, you might have to pay for your house rent, holiday rent. So yeah, you need to talk to iWork and ask them what those policies are. But yes, you can go. Oh, great. That's a good question. Anybody else have any other question?
So we got a question for the 212E. So that's the 2-year return home requirement. What if you get an offer for a postgraduate study outside of your home country? What's
Oh
the
yeah, so I
process for
remember
that?
that I said, if it's not in United States, so what is United States? It says you have to leave United States. So 212E is to leave the United States for 2 years. That's a requirement. Now you go home country. So home country, again, it doesn't have to be home. If you're going outside of US and Canada, you can go there. It's okay. And also, if you're getting a postgraduate, you can also apply for a waiver. And waivers are available. Students who apply, and depending on your government, if your government approves it, then the waivers can be given to you. Yeah. But yeah, talking about home country is something that I don't know if they really want the home as a home country where you apply from. So that's a good question, and I don't know if I have the answer for that one.
So, but it sounds like there's waivers you can apply for. And
Yeah.
additionally, I think that so it's for after you finish your program, and usually if you get for most of our students who go into graduate school, they get an extension on their program. So I think it would still be after you complete that graduate schooling.
And also remember, depending on post-graduation, so is this your post-graduation offering you the same visa, which is J1, then yes, the rule continues and then you don't have to leave. However, when you are getting a postgraduate and that to changing a status from J1 to F1, definitely at that moment you would like to apply for a waiver. If not, then you might have to work with the new or the other university and what the guidelines they offer you. So yeah.
We said so for postgraduate study offered from US and Canada, 212E restrictions aren't allowed to take the offer. So no, I would not. I would say it's something that when you're here, once you're closer to applying to graduate school and stuff, it's something to meet with an advisor in our office about. I wouldn't let that restriction stop you from applying to graduate school.
And I think even the school doesn't, the policy is that even for iWork, that if you are, so for example, after you graduate and you have an option to, and you get accepted for another school, definitely the iWork says that yes, you can go ahead and continue your studies. However, once you are done, you go back to your home country. That till the time you're a student, iWork has no obligation. Like iWork doesn't ask you to return home. What else is the question? Does that answer your question? You have to have field service numbers. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, if you talk about service number, if your new program is the same visa, which is so for example, if you're coming as a J visa, and if your new program is also offered on the same J, you can transfer, so you don't have to pay that fee again for the service. It will be continuation. However, if it's changing status from J1 to F1 or F1 to J, definitely yes, you would have to pay a fee of, you have to pay a service fee.
Any other questions from anyone? Do we quarantine in our hallway or somewhere else?
Oh, they quarantine, yeah.
They're doing quarantine in the hallways.
So there's a specific hallway which is prepared for quarantine.
I don't actually think they're using that anymore.
Oh, okay. I don't know, but yeah, they have their own policy. So remember that when you come in, make sure that you inform your travel services that you're coming in, because what they do, they create an Excel sheet which allows them to maintain who's coming and when is they're coming. So then, because if you are required to be picked up by the university, they can arrange shuttle for you. But if you do not inform and you come your own, it's going to be a big challenge for you. Okay, last one. What are your favorite food, you both? So Well, I have so many different food. I am a foodie. We
That's
talk
true.
about
Vinay
food.
likes his fancy food.
So I recently started loving. I used to eat in Pounders. It's a really good place to eat. It's at PCC. But I also started eating at Seven Brothers now because they have changed their menu and even the style of presentation.
Oh.
I didn't like their first presentation, but now I like it.
It wasn't up to Vinay's standard.
Yes, and there are good places. There are places that recently on last Saturday, last Saturday, right? We went
two
to
Saturdays
two
ago.
Saturdays ago. We went to Gen Barbecue.
Yeah, we
That's
went
a
to a Korean barbecue.
Korean
Rahola.
barbecue, and
It was way good.
yes, it was amazing. It was unlimited eat, so you can eat as much as you want, and it was a very reasonable price. Yeah, probably like 2 hours of your pay or free.
Yeah, just not restaurant wise though.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know. I like
shrimps,
lots of different things.
I
I like pizza.
Oh yes. So
That's
for
a-
pizza, definitely I would recommend Biology.
Yeah, any pizza I like. Oh, they said
Not the Foodland one, right?
you've helped Foodland pizza?
Like the one that you have to bake. in
Or
your
like a
hand.
frozen pizza?
Yeah.
Even those are good.
Yeah, they're good. Yes. Okay.
You've helped us so much. Oh, thank you. You don't need to do that though, but thank you. That's very generous. Awesome. Any other questions from anyone? All right.
Yeah.
If not, then we're glad that you guys all came today. And I'll stop sharing my screen for.
Yeah. And also remember to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh,
Remember to follow.
That's a good point.
It's BYUHISS, right? Yes, it's
Mhm, yeah,
BYUHISS. So follow and also try to keep yourself updated with new rules that are happening, because when you come to a new country, you want to make sure that you remember that you are an alien to us, or like alien to them, That's what they call us. But make sure that we remember that what rules we have to follow. It is important. We want you to be safe. That's why we are here. And some of you might even start working here, So it's going to be a good place to come and learn about those things. Because we graduate, we leave, and there will be other students graduate and leave, and you're going to start journey, and you will be the next foundations for BYU Hawaii to build. Make sure wherever you work, you maintain status and you work within the hours that are required. Yeah, those are some of our tips for you.
Yep. So yeah, thanks to everyone who joined. Yep. Tomorrow is our last Seasider series for this month. Usually on the Fridays we do a shorter one. So tomorrow we are going to be doing our first kind of preview of we made a new student handbook that me and Karis, who's been in some of the other Seasider series sessions, me and her created this whole handbook. So we're going to be just kind of talking about that and what it can be used for and unveiling it.
And also invite your friends. We really want other people to come and join this. It's really important that when we have more people, we are able to share what they need,
Yep.
Great.
All right. So hopefully see you guys tomorrow. Mahalo and aloha.
Bye.